Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're doing something a little different. We are completely overhauling the way you communicate. We're calling this the master blueprint because, let's be honest, if your instructions right now are getting lost in this blurry, confusing cloud of misunderstanding, we're going to snap them right into sharp, ultra-vivid 4K structural lines. We're talking about building communication that is decisive, rhythmic, and absolutely foolproof. So let's just dive right in. Think about these two totally different ways of making a simple request. This actually perfectly illustrates what linguists call the politeness trap. On one hand, you have, "It would be great if you made us a drink." And on the other, just the pure imperative mood, "Make us a drink." Now, in our daily lives, we're constantly wrapping our commands in politeness, right? We do it to avoid stepping on toes or threatening someone's sense of territory. We sprinkle in words like maybe or just or if you could. But here is the brutal truth. All that polite fluff, it completely obscures your actual directive. It creates this totally unnecessary cognitive load for the listener, basically forcing them to sift through all your pleasantries just to figure out what you actually want them to do. So to really understand why this politeness trap is so dangerous to your productivity, we've got to look at the psychology behind it. Enter cognitive load theory. This was first introduced by John Sweller back in 1988, and it refers to the exact amount of mental effort required by your working memory to process new information. You see, the human brain has a strictly limited capacity for handling multiple elements at once. So when you overload someone's working memory with a bunch of verbal static, you are literally impairing their capacity to understand and execute your command. Your instruction is essentially failing before they even take their first step. Now, this mental burden actually breaks down into three distinct categories. First, you've got intrinsic load. That's just the baseline difficulty of the task itself, what it actually takes to do the job. Then you have germane load, which is the good kind of brain power, the effort used to actually learn and develop new skills. And then, right there in the middle, you have extraneous load. This is the enemy. Extraneous load is the totally unnecessary burden caused by poorly designed, fluffy, repetitive instructions. So your primary mission as a communicator? Systematically strip away that extraneous load. You have to remove the static so your true command snaps into razor-sharp focus. Okay, so how do we actually strip away that static in the real world? We use the inverted pyramid. This is the absolute foundation of the bottom line up front, or bluff principle that elite CEOs use all the time. And fun fact, the urban legend behind this structural shape actually traces all the way back to the invention of the telegraph, because early telegraph lines were wildly unreliable and constantly dropping the transmission. Reporters had to send the absolute most important headlines first. That way, if the line dropped, the core message still survived. And honestly, you need to communicate exactly like this today. Your stakeholders are incredibly pressed for time. The longer you wait to get to the main point, the more likely your instruction is going to be completely lost in the noise. While CEOs use the inverted pyramid, the military uses this, the 5-paragraph order framework. This is essentially the ultimate blueprint for foolproof instructions. And the absolute beating heart of this entire order is the mission statement. A commander doesn't just toss out a vague suggestion. No, the mission statement demands a crystal clear, concise answer to the 5 W's. Who, what, when, where, and why. When this is done right, every single person leaving that briefing room knows exactly what they are meant to accomplish without a shadow of a doubt. Elite military commanders actually translate that mission using an action constraint matrix. The rule is simple. Action first, metrics second. They use highly specific NATO task verbs, literally written in bold capitalization, to dictate the exact effect they want to achieve. They pair a sharp imperative verb with an exact metric of success, and they separate it with the phrase in order to, or IOT. For example, deny Eagle Bridge in order to set conditions, or secure beachhead area in order to prepare for arrival. It is an incredibly precise formula. Action first, metric second. Zero fluff, and absolutely zero room for interpretation. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, well, that's great, but I'm not leading a military operation. But here's the thing. Stripping away communication fluff isn't just some corporate efficiency hack. It literally prevents catastrophic failure in high-stakes civilian environments, too. Take anesthesia and surgery. Nearly 1 in 10 patients still suffer from complications due to errors. Think about that. Faulty communication leads to confusion, and confusion causes good plans to fail. When lives are literally on the line, you cannot afford to hide a directive inside a polite suggestion. You absolutely need a foolproof system. To prevent that kind of failure, we use the check-back protocol, or what's officially known as closed-loop communication. This was heavily inspired by the aviation industry, and it's used all the time in emergency scenarios. It's a rigorous feedback loop meant for one thing: confirming alignment. Step 1. The sender delivers the message, actively addressing the receiver by name. Step 2. The receiver acknowledges and clarifies what they heard. And Step 3. The sender confirms the message was understood correctly. Boom. The loop is officially closed, guaranteeing your precisely etched instruction was received with perfect 4K clarity. I really want this next reality to sink in for a second. A message is never communicated unless it is understood by the receiver. We've all been there, right? You experience that dangerous nod of confusion. You give an instruction, the team member smiles, they nod, and you walk away assuming everything is totally fine. But it isn't. The responsibility for breaking through those communication barriers rests squarely on you, the sender. If they didn't understand it, I hate to say it, but you didn't actually communicate it. So how do you bypass that nod of confusion? You have to actively manage feedback through these 5 daily loops. Because feedback isn't just about patting someone on the back and saying, "Good job." Its true purpose is to literally change and alter messages in real time so that the original intention perfectly matches the receiver's execution. Whether a team member is evaluating your statement, interpreting and paraphrasing it back to you, or probing you for more information, you have to use these responses as a diagnostic tool. It's the only way to verify true clarity. Which brings us to the critical question to wrap up this explainer. Are your polite instructions secretly hindering your team with an unnecessary cognitive burden? Honestly, it's time to adopt the master blueprint. Strip away the fluff, lead with your bottom line up front, use those sharp imperative action verbs, and pair them with crystal clear constraints, and rigorously close that loop to ensure absolute understanding. Mastering this framework isn't about being rude or bossy. It's realizing that in a world full of constant noise, absolute clarity is the ultimate form of professional respect. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Now go make your next instruction undeniably clear.